You know what, mate?
So, oh, fucking hell. Good start.
Good start, great start.
So today's video is just going to be a more relaxed one. We're not got a script or anything. It's the first of its kind for us too. And it's just going to be talking about current news. We're going to try and do this on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, just so you can hear our perspective on the news. Keeps us up to date with current news, keeps us clued in, and hopefully you'll enjoy listening to it. So today we're going to talk about the differences between the European sports league structure and the American sports league structure.
Yeah.
That's obviously off the back of the European Super League controversy last week.
Yeah, which I was not best pleased about. So before we get into this video, I want to make it absolutely clear that I nearly chucked my phone across the room because I was so annoyed at the fact
you were lucky to get into the six.
Pardon?
You were lucky to get into the six as an Arsenal fan.
All right, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, yeah. To be fair, we're bottom half at the minute, so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's
and really for me. I was just interested to see how it all played out because
you didn't have to.
Football
is at
an all-time
also, you're P&E as well, aren't you? So
yeah, I sport pressing off.
Nowhere near Big Six. So
exactly, yeah, we couldn't be further off it at the moment. So what we're going to just talk about is some of the differences, I suppose, in the setup. So I
was just going to say that one of the things that was a major talking point was the fact of sort of competitiveness in the type of league, because it was essentially going to be hermetically sealed. So they're on about
you can't go up or down.
And a lot of people coming out, how it could really be competitive without relegation and promotion. However, American sport we think is still very competitive. So that's why we want to highlight the differences.
Yeah.
And maybe that comment's not exactly true.
I did my dissertation on the economic impact of hosting a major league franchise. So, I mean, that was a few years ago now, but I'm still fairly familiar and I enjoy it. I follow NFL quite closely. But when I was writing my dissertation, the two sort of goals of a sports league are competitive balance, which means from, the course of the season, you want really competitive games week in, week out, and uncertainty of outcome. And that's on a game-to-game basis. You want to go to a game knowing that, whoever the two teams are playing, you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point in going? And also over the course of a season, you want uncertainty of outcome as to who's going to win the league or who's going to win the championship and the playoffs and whatever.
Yeah.
These are the two things that keep people interested in sport. This is what sports leagues have to achieve: competitive balance and uncertainty of outcome.
Yeah, I'd like to add, we did actually a module at uni, didn't we? Sports, and I really enjoyed it, and it was it was really good, and it just showed us how economies have progressed over the years, and it shows you where an economy is, where the sports is. We've got wealthier and wealthier, therefore sports was available and it grew and stuff. So yeah, we were interested. It was an interesting uni, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is interesting, and I would encourage other people to look into it, and possibly, if you're into your sport, do it as a dissertation topic as well. But yeah, so there is major differences really in the setup between European sports leagues and American sports leagues. Main one being what Joe said, is the hermetically sealed. The American sports league, there's no promotion, there's no relegation. So for most people, especially from a European perspective, Americans don't really know much different. But for most people, you look at that and think there's a severe lack of competitiveness, in that sense that, especially when you get to the end of the season, there's teams at the bottom of the league that have got no playoff implications, they've got no chance of getting much higher in the league. Then these games can often be considered like dead rubbers. But where you've got a Premier League game where you got your 20 or what is it 17th place against 18th place.
Yeah,
I mean, even though it's the two teams at the end of the league, they might not be playing well on a week in, week out basis. That game has meaning.
I suppose especially for the Prem, you've got quite a lot of competition in terms of like you are trying to win the league, but then you've also got teams fighting for the top 4 position, and you've got teams fighting for what 7-6-5 for the European places, and then you've got relegation. So you've got battles with them teams close to each other all across the league, not just the top teams as well.
Having said that, though, American sports do try. The whole system is in place to keep teams competitive, try and not have the same team win year in, year out. Now, that doesn't always work. No. You know, you might be aware of the New England Patriots, who have won 6 Super Bowls in the past, I don't know, 20 years, 19 years or something, and they made 10 Super Bowls. It was an outrageous record. The reason being, if you finish, they put in place what's called a reverse order draft system, which you might have heard of. So if you finish last in the league, you get the first pick of the talent coming out of college. So, and all the way up to, if you finished first in league, you get the last pick of each round coming out of college. And that's obviously in place so that the worst teams get the best talent, which should pull them up and make them better the following year. Yeah. That's the goal of it. There's also profit sharing as well. And we were talking about this before, where, again, I wasn't aware of this until I sort of searched into it a bit more. All of the merchandise, everything of that is profit shared. So where there might be a real popular team like in the NFL, I don't know, the New England Patriots or the New York teams, they might sell a lot of merchandise, jerseys, caps, shirts, whatever it is. But that all gets shared around all the leagues. So the teams that may have slightly less support aren't adversely affected from that either.
Yeah, so it'd be like in our league, it'd be like Man U having all the shirt sales they do, but they have to share the money with all the teams. So Burnley get essentially some of the money from Man U for the shirts, which you know, straight away you can say, well, that's actually quite good, because then they can go out and improve on the back of Man United.
Stops these big, huge teams forming like United that are so out of reach to a Burnley or a I don't know who's in the Prem at the moment. West Brom.
To be fair, Man United is a good one. I mean, you consider over Alex Ferguson's reign that how many league titles did he win? Like you said about the New England Patriots winning 6 league titles over 20 years, whereas Man U won basically all of them over a 20-year period, apart from a few years here and there. So I suppose
for a lot of people, that's again, it's very almost at the start of the season. Some of United's team, it was just uncertainty of outcome wasn't there. You almost knew United were going to be top 3 at least.
Yeah. And you could argue the only reason why they got beat in a couple of the years, I mean, you can say Arsenal didn't have the money to buy in, so they had a good team, and they disrupted Man United in the late 90s, early 2000s. But the only reason why probably Man U got knocked off a little bit was because of big money coming into Chelsea and City. So it wasn't the league creating that money or creating that competitiveness. It was big money coming in, evolving them teams and creating competitiveness. So I think that's a good point as well, actually.
Yeah, the other thing as well that's obviously in place in American sports is a salary cap. Now, I know that in Major League Baseball they don't actually. That's the only American sport that don't have a salary cap, but they have some sort of luxury tax, something which tries to encourage competitive balance. But for the other 3 leagues, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, they all have salary caps. So again, this encourages competitiveness. You can't just go, the richest owners can't just go and spend all the money on the most expensive players and build some sort of super team. because you've got to be strong in all areas. If you want to build a championship winning team, you've got to be balanced, and that's encouraged by the salary cap. Whereas obviously, God, if you looked at the salary of, I don't know, Fulham versus a Manchester City, the difference would be astronomical.
Yeah.
Whereas the NFL, for example, they even have a minimum salary cap and a maximum salary cap, so they're always going to be within a band.
Yeah. Also, they have different contracts, don't they, in America?
In terms of
like how you can, move from one club to the other.
Yeah. So you can't just tear up a contract generally in America. Now that trend is slightly changing, especially, like I say, I follow the NFL mostly. Players can sort of show their discontent at a team, say, right, I want to scrap them terms, scrap the terms of my contract, and I want to renegotiate a new contract. That's a very new thing in the past sort of few years. There's a few sort of big players that can have the power to even attempt that, but generally, if you have a contract, you sign a contract, whether you stay at the team that you signed that contract with or not, that contract goes with you. So say a team trades you, and in American sports, you as a player, you have almost no say as to where you get traded. One day you could be in New York, the next you could be in LA. If the team trades your contract, that you have no choice about it. You're at the mercy of the teams.
So the trading the contract then, so they can move even if they're on the same contract still.
Yeah, and generally, obviously, the term trade kind of gives it away. You generally get something in return unless you get to free agency, which means the term of your contract's run out. Maybe you signed a 5-year contract, your contract's over. At that point, you can either be what's called a restricted free agent, which I believe it varies from league to league, but it means like you've not been in the league for so many years. Right. So you're generally a younger player. Then basically, if you're a restricted free agent, whoever signs you has to pay some form of draft compensations. You might have to give a second round pick or you get a chance as the team who they're currently with to match their offer. So if you're a restricted free agent and another team offers 10 million, you can either just say, no, you can go for that and you'll get a draft pick in return, or you can match that offer and they've like done the negotiation for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or you're an unrestricted free agent, which means you've played however many years in the league. So you're like a veteran player, in which case you can go and sign whatever contract you want with any team.
Okay, so let's put it in perspective of the Prem then. Let's take like Southampton, and say Man U's come in for a Southampton player.
Yeah.
The Southampton player signed a 5-year deal 1 year ago.
Yeah.
So what would happen there then?
As far as I'm aware, that player, the Southampton player, was signing an entirely new contract with Manchester United, wouldn't they? Or whoever the team is that's signing. That contract wouldn't transfer. They wouldn't be on the same wage that they would at Southampton. They'd likely be on a larger wage.
No, in terms of the American style, if we had like the American style.
Oh, right, sorry. So in terms of American style, the player, there's no transfer fees involved in American sports at all. It's trades. So I would say again, we'll go back to the draft picks. Say Manchester United had, obviously they'll have, depending on how many rounds in the NFL, it's 7 rounds. They'll have 7 draft picks a year. They might see the value of this player. If it's a really good player, they might give a first round pick in 2022 and a first round pick in 2023 for that player.
So literally they will change. So in the next year, like Man U give up a pick, like you say, like first round pick.
Yeah. So it'll say, if you look at like the draft order, it'll say who the pick is, but it might say underneath belonging to, and it's because it's traded from them.
Okay, so
traded it for a player. So that Southampton player with his contract would go to Man United. The contract wouldn't change.
No,
but United will have to give him their draft picks up.
And like you say, the contract. So essentially, what you could do
contract remains the same.
Yeah, so you know, a young. I mean, Southampton have got a very good academy, and a lot of their young players have moved to big teams. In that scenario, you can say that them big teams. One, you'd say you get a good bargain for players because Southampton's money wouldn't be as much, so they'd move and still be paid
remember,
the same thing.
In that scenario, we don't have a salary cap, obviously in the English league, so the wages
I suppose,
are very uniform. Really, like the best players at the most important positions get the big money. The quarterbacks get the big money.
Yeah.
The sort of left tackle gets the big money.
Yeah.
Wide receivers do okay.
I can understand it in that way because for teams like Southampton who have got a good academy, they sort of get punished in a way for having a good academy because they bring players through, and they generate like a decent amount of money selling them players onto like bigger clubs, which obviously goes back into that club. So in that way, I suppose it's a good generation of money.
Yeah.
But from an actual competitive point of view, it would be more difficult for them players to move on, so they could actually keep them and then get better.
But again, remember in American sports, there's no academies. Your players are coming from colleges, so they're not associated to your team at all.
No.
So it doesn't matter if they don't have it, but say New England Patriots had an amazing academy, it wouldn't work because they get drafted from colleges. So it's the colleges that obviously develop the players to hopefully NFL standards.
Yeah, it's a total different way of doing it, but I can, in some ways, I can understand like if there's certain aspects of it, if we could adopt in certain areas, it would make it a bit more competitive.
I mean, well, if you think about the salary cap, especially, I think one of the main reasons that these big Super 12 kind of teams wanted this league because a lot of them are struggling financially, aren't they?
Yeah.
Juventus and Barca and Real especially have paid astronomical.
And that's why they're pushing it and pushing it. And I did think it was an interesting thing because they've been pushing it to try and get more money. But at the end of the day, is it going to be a case of then in 10 years' time, they did the Super League and they earned loads of money off it, but all that money then goes back into the players, trade the facilities.
I suppose if you don't put in a salary cap,
and
then you're just going to be inflating the wages of the.
And then 10 years' time, come around and Real Madrid turn around and go, oh no, we haven't got any money again. And then they go, do you know what? Shall we make a super league up? Do you know what I mean? Is it just always going to get like?
So, having said that, though, I still do believe because I know in English rugby union, there's a lot of talk about ring fencing at the moment, and I still believe that the promotion relegation style is the best way to achieve competitive or uncertainty of outcome right the way to the end of the season. Competitive balance. You've got competitive games right until the end, haven't you?
100% agree. It's just it makes it more exciting.
Yeah,
and also I think it punishes teams. It punishes teams a lot by being rubbish. You've got Derby County. So I'm currently in Nottingham right now, but I grew up in Derby. So a lot of my friends are Derby County fans, and their Facebook posts are not very happy at the minute because they look like they're going to be relegated.
They're in the shit at the bottom at the moment, aren't they?
They're close. I can't remember who team.
I think they might be 20th. I think the one above the relegation.
Yeah, one above. But the other team below them have got a game in hand, and they're 3 points behind them, and they've got a better goal difference. So if they win that game, Derby have.
Then they're not in a good place, are they?
No. So 100%. This is why I was furious. I was furious at the fact that they just decided overnight, these teams are out of it. I thought it was disgusting, and I do like the English system a lot better. I think the money side of it, in terms of like shirt sales, maybe going to smaller teams might be a good.
I do think
salary caps, I think, would be a good
salary caps have got to be the future.
Yeah.
If you want to reduce this, because we can all think back to Leicester 2015-16, and that was unbelievable. Right. I remember it. It's clear it was absolutely incredible, but that's such a one-off.
Yeah,
that we might not live another 100 years and see that kind of thing happen. We want that kind of uncertainty at the start of every league year.
Yeah,
and for me, one of the main things has got to be salary cap. I don't think we can do draft set up in Europe. We're not set up for it because we've got the promotion relegation. I don't think we can implement that, but some form of profit sharing, 100% we can, and a salary cap, I think would be essential in order to just even out the leagues, get that competitive balance, get that uncertainty of outcome.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's going to wrap up today's video. We hope you've enjoyed it. We quite enjoyed just discussing it. Again, it's off script. It was just whatever came up to our heads.
Yeah.
So if you've got any questions, anything you want to add to the conversation, anything you want to ask us, leave it in the comment section.
Yep.
Please subscribe and like the video, and we'll hopefully be releasing another one of these very soon.
Yeah, and go and check out our normal content as well, all our theories and stuff, and hopefully we'll do a more theory-based sports video as well. I think that'd be quite cool. So yeah, thanks for watching.
For watching.
Cheers.
Was that all right, wasn't it?